Commander Ji-Ho Park stood in the observation deck of the Earth Alliance flagship Indomitable, staring at the endless void of space. 15 years had passed since humanity joined the Galactic Council. 15 years of following their rules, defending their borders, and believing they were finally part of something greater. He touched the medal on his chest, the one they gave him for protecting the Outer Rim territories. His brother had died earning a similar medal. They called him a hero. The communication panel beeped. Captain Hyen Kim's face appeared on the screen. She looked tired, her uniform wrinkled from days without proper rest. Behind her, Ji-Ho could see the cramped interior of her scout ship. "Commander, we found something," Hyen said. Her voice was steady, but Ji-Ho heard the tension underneath. "You need to see this." "What is it?" "An abandoned council station. Old one, maybe 200 years. It's near the Kepler belt, hidden behind an asteroid cluster. We almost missed it." Ji-Ho frowned. The council had assured humanity that all installations in their assigned territories had been documented. Another small lie, probably. He was used to those by now. "Any danger?" "No life signs. The station is dead, but the backup power is still running." "Commander, there are files here. Lots of them. Encrypted, but Myray thinks she can crack them." Myray Choi was the best tech specialist in the fleet. If anyone could break council encryption, it was her. "Do it. I'm coming to your location." 3 hours later, Ji-Ho stood in the cold metal corridors of the abandoned station. His breath made small clouds in the freezing air. The emergency lights flickered, casting strange shadows on the walls. Hyen and Myray waited for him in what looked like a control room. Dozens of screens showed streams of data. "Show me," Ji-Ho said. Myray's fingers moved across the keyboard. Files appeared on the main screen. Trade records, resource surveys, internal council memos. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Then Myray opened a file labeled Outer Rim Exploitation Protocol. Ji-Ho read in silence. His hands started shaking. The document detailed how the Council had systematically mined the Outer Rim territories for 3 centuries. Every valuable resource had been extracted. Rare metals essential for faster-than-light travel. Energy crystals that powered their cities. Organic compounds used in their medicine. Everything. The territories they gave to humanity weren't worthless frontiers. They were stripped corpses of once rich systems. "There's more," Hyen said quietly. She opened another file. This one showed a list of species. Hundreds of them. Next to each name was a date and a status. Most said compliant. Some said economically neutralized. A few said eliminated. "They do this to everyone," Myray whispered. "Every new species that joins the Council gets assigned to already depleted territories. They're told it's an honor. Meanwhile, the Council takes everything of value and leaves them with nothing." Ji-Ho scrolled through the files. There were detailed plans, psychological profiles, strategies for keeping new members weak and dependent. Humanity's profile was there too. The Council had studied Earth for 50 years before making first contact. They knew humans were militarily capable, so they advised Earth to downplay their weapons technology. For trust building, they said. For peaceful integration, it was all a lie. They wanted humanity weak. They wanted humanity dependent. And when Earth had nothing left to give, what then? Ji-Ho looked at the species marked eliminated and felt cold fear in his stomach. "Copy everything," he ordered. "Every file, every record, every piece of evidence. We need multiple backups. Sir, what are we going to do?" Hyen asked. "We're going to tell Earth the truth." Back on the Indomitable, Ji-Ho sent an encrypted message to Earth's government. He included all the files, all the evidence. Then he waited. 2 days later, The response came. President Deo Shin himself appeared on the screen. His face was hard as stone. Commander Park, your report has been verified by our intelligence division. The evidence is clear. The Council has been robbing us blind while positioning us as their border guards. What are your orders, sir? We're convening an emergency session of the Alliance Parliament. This will take a few days to organize. In the meantime, you are to continue normal operations. Don't let the Council suspect anything. Ji-Ho saluted. Understood, sir. The next few days were the hardest of Ji-Ho's life. He attended Council briefings through video calls, smiling and nodding while his insides burned with rage. He watched Council admirals give orders to human ships, sending them to defend borders while Council vessels stayed safe in the core systems. Every interaction felt like poison dot. On the 5th day, Senna Lee sent him a private message. Senna was Earth's diplomat at the Council homeworld. She had been there for 3 years, attending endless meetings and negotiations. Her message was brief. I'm seeing the trade agreements with new eyes now. Everything makes sense. They've been cheating us from day one. What do we do? Ji-Ho replied, wait for orders from Earth. Be careful. Don't let them know we know. The emergency session concluded on the 7th day. President Shin broadcast to every human ship, station, and colony simultaneously. His message was simple and direct. Citizens of Earth and her colonies, we have discovered that the Galactic Council has been systematically exploiting humanity since first contact. They lied about our territories. They lied about their intentions. They positioned us to be their servants and eventual victims. This ends now. All Earth Alliance military forces are hereby ordered to withdraw from Council operations immediately. Return to Sol System. We will not fight their wars. We will not guard their borders. We will not play their game anymore. To the Galactic Council, we say this. You lied to us. You stole from us. You thought we would never discover the truth. You were wrong. Leave our space. Return what you've taken, or face the consequences. Across dozens of star systems, human ships began moving. They disengaged from joint operations with Council forces. They abandoned outposts in Outer Rim territories. Every human vessel, every human soldier, every human installation began the long journey home to Earth. The Council was confused. Their messages demanded explanations. They sent diplomats to speak with Earth's government. They threatened economic sanctions. But Earth didn't respond. Not yet. Ji-Ho watched from the Indomitable as his fleet approached Jupiter. Other battle groups converged from different directions. Hundreds of human ships, all returning home. The Council still didn't understand what was happening. They thought this was a negotiating tactic. A protest that would end when humanity realized they needed the Council more than the Council needed them. They had no idea what was coming. They had awakened something they didn't understand. Humanity had been patient for 15 years. Patient while being cheated. Patient while being positioned for exploitation. But patience has limits. Commander Ji-Ho Park looked at the Earth through the viewport. His home, his people, his brother's grave down there on that blue world. They had been told their sacrifices protected humanity's place in the galaxy. But it was all built on lies. The Council had made a terrible mistake. They had given humanity time to grow stronger. Time to build ships and weapons. Time to learn their systems and their weaknesses. And most importantly, they had given humanity a reason to fight. As the Indomitable entered orbit around Earth, Ji-Ho received his new orders. The withdrawal was complete. Now came the next phase. The Council would send ships to escort humans home to ensure they caused no trouble. Those ships would be the first to learn the truth. Humanity wasn't running away. They were getting into position. The war hadn't started yet, but it would soon. And when it did, The galaxy would learn what happens when you lie to Earth. The Vrax Dominion had served the Council for 800 years. Their warships were feared across the galaxy. When the Council ordered them to escort human vessels back to Sol System, they considered it routine work. 3 Vrax warships entered the solar system expecting compliance. They found something else. Captain Hyun Kim waited near Jupiter's orbit with her battle group. 12 human ships, smaller than the Vrax vessels, but faster and more maneuverable. When the Vrax admiral sent a message demanding the humans power down their weapons and submit to escort, Hyun replied with 2 words: "Come take us." The Vrax ships accelerated, their weapons charged. They had fought 1,000 battles against primitives who thought they could resist Council authority. This would be no different. They were wrong. The battle lasted 17 minutes. Human ships moved in patterns the Vrax had never seen. They didn't form traditional battle lines. They swarmed. They struck from unexpected angles. And their weapons cut through Vrax shields like paper. The first Vrax ship died in the opening salvo. Plasma bolts from 6 human vessels converged on its reactor core. The explosion was visible from Earth. The second ship tried to retreat, but human missiles tracked it down. The missiles were smart, too smart. They dodged countermeasures and found weak points in the armor. The third ship managed to send a distress signal before Hyun's own ship, the Relentless, finished it with a railgun shot that went straight through the bridge. 17 minutes. 3 Vrax warships destroyed. 0 human casualties. The Council received the distress signal at their headquarters. At first, they thought it was a mistake. Humans couldn't possibly defeat Vrax warships. The Vrax were trained warriors. Their technology was centuries ahead of Earth's. But then the sensor data arrived. The recordings. The evidence. Emergency meetings were called. Council members gathered in their great chamber, hundreds of species represented. They watched the battle recordings in silence. The humans fought with precision and brutality. No hesitation. No mercy. How? The Cassarian representative demanded. Human weapons were classified as Level 3 technology, barely capable of system defense. This is Level 7 capability at minimum. President Daeho Shin answered their questions with a broadcast to the entire galaxy. His message reached every council world, every colony, every listening station. The Council advised us to downplay our military capabilities. They said it would make other species trust us more. They said it would help us integrate peacefully. We followed their advice. We showed you only what you wanted to see. But we're done pretending. Behind him, technical displays showed Earth's true military production. Shipyards in orbit around Mars, weapons facilities on Luna, research stations developing artificial intelligence for combat, railguns that could punch through any shield, plasma weapons that burned hotter than stars, missile systems with quantum targeting that never missed. You told us the Outer Rim was worthless, Daeho continued. You lied. We found your old records. We know what you took from those systems. We know what you plan to take from us. So here's what happens now. Withdraw from human space. All Council ships, all Council stations, all Council personnel. You have 72 hours. And if we refuse? The Council High Chancellor transmitted back. Then we come for you. The Council didn't believe him. They had faced rebellions before. They always won. They sent more ships. 50 vessels this time. A full battle fleet. The pride of the Taurian Empire. Ancient warriors who had conquered 100 worlds. Commander Jiho Park met them in the asteroid belt. His fleet was smaller, just 20 ships. The Taurians were confident. Then the asteroids started moving. Humanity had spent months militarizing the asteroid belt. Hidden inside ordinary rocks were missile platforms, railgun batteries, and autonomous drones. When the Taurians entered the belt, thinking they had Jiho trapped, they walked into a carefully prepared kill zone. The asteroids opened fire. Thousands of missiles launched simultaneously. The Taurian shields held at first, but the assault didn't stop. Human ships darted between asteroids, firing and disappearing. The Taurians couldn't get a clear shot. They couldn't even see all their enemies. One by one, the Taurian ships died. Some tried to retreat. The asteroids followed them, mobile weapons platforms that hunted like wolves. When it was over, 43 Taurian ships were destroyed. 7 escaped, badly damaged, running for Council space with stories of human treachery and impossible weapons. But it wasn't treachery. It was war. And humanity was very good at it. The galaxy watched in shock. 2 major Council fleets destroyed in less than a week. Species that had never dared question the Council started asking questions. On a dozen worlds, people accessed the files Earth had released. The evidence of Council exploitation. The truth about the Outer Rim. The plans for humanity's eventual elimination. Riots broke out on 3 Council worlds. The Theran species, enslaved for generations, rose up against their Council overseers. They had no weapons, no training. But they had numbers and rage. When Council peacekeepers tried to suppress them, someone sent the Therans weapons. Advanced human weapons. No one could prove Earth did it, but everyone knew. Senna Lee worked from the shadows in the Council capital. She had been a diplomat, but now she was something else. A spy, a coordinator. She met with representatives from oppressed species in secret locations. She shared intelligence. She made promises. Help us break the Council, she told them, and we'll help you build something better. More species joined the resistance quietly. They didn't fight openly. Not yet. But they fed information to Earth. Jump gate codes. Defense grid schematics. Supply route schedules. The Council's intelligence network started failing. Their secure communications were compromised. Their secret became humanity's weapons. In the Council's great chamber, fear replaced confidence. The High Chancellor called for total war. Crush them now, before they grow stronger. Before they inspire more rebellions. But others argued for negotiation. They're just angry. We can make concessions. Give them better territories. Reduce their resource quotas. Make them profitable partners instead of enemies. They didn't understand. Humanity didn't want concessions. They wanted justice. And they would have it, no matter the cost. Weapons engineer Taeyong Nam worked around the clock in Earth's orbital facilities. His team developed new technologies every day. Stealth ships that were invisible to Council sensors. Cyber weapons that could take control of enemy vessels. Biological agents that targeted specific species without harming others. Some of his creations frightened him. But he kept working. The Council had started this war through deception. Humanity would end it through superior force. The Council prepared their next offensive. They would send everything. 100 ships. 200. They would overwhelm humanity through sheer numbers. Surely even humans couldn't stand against the combined might of the galaxy. But as their fleets gathered, human strike teams attacked their staging areas. Small groups led by Lieutenant Minho An infiltrated Council space using stolen codes. They sabotaged fuel depots. They destroyed supply ships. They hacked into Council computers and corrupted navigation data. The Council couldn't protect everything. They were used to fighting conventional wars with battle lines and honor codes. Humanity fought dirty. They struck at soft targets. They spread fear. Council crews started deserting. Who wanted to die fighting humans when the Council had caused this mess through their own greed? More species defected. The Pellan Confederacy quietly signed a non-aggression pact with Earth. The Roner Collective opened their space to human ships. The Council's unity fractured. And through it all, humanity kept broadcasting their message to the galaxy. We don't want conquest. We don't want subjugation. We want justice. We want freedom. Join us, and we'll protect you. Stand with the Council, and we'll go through you. The galaxy was changing. The old order was dying. And at the center of it all, Earth burned bright with righteous fury. The Council had lied. Now they would pay the price. The Council's war fleet finally arrived at Sol System 3 weeks after the first shots were fired. It was the largest military force assembled in 500 years. 400 warships from 20 different species. They expected to find Earth defenseless, ready to surrender when faced with overwhelming power. Instead, they found a fortress. Every moon had been weaponized. Every asteroid had been turned into a missile platform. Every orbital station bristled with railguns and plasma cannons. Earth had spent 15 years preparing for this moment, building defenses while the Council thought humanity was weak and compliant. Admiral Una Bay commanded Earth's home fleet from the orbital station Guardian Prime. She watched the Council armada approach and felt no fear. Let them come. They would learn what it meant to attack humanity's home. All stations, weapons free, she ordered. Show them what we built. The battle that followed became known as the Siege of Sol. It lasted 6 days. The Council threw everything at Earth's defenses. Their ships were bigger, their shields stronger. But humanity had the home advantage. They knew every inch of the system. Every rock, every gravity well, every hidden weapon. The Council lost 60 ships on the first day. By the third day, they had lost over 100. Their commanders couldn't believe it. They had never faced resistance like this. Humanity didn't just defend. They attacked. Human ships darted out from behind moons, struck hard, then vanished. Missiles came from every direction. The asteroids themselves seemed to fight against the Council, but the real war wasn't happening in Sol System. While the Council's main fleet was busy dying at Earth's doorstep, Lieutenant Minho An and his Special Forces teams struck across the galaxy. They didn't fight fair. They didn't even fight in space. They went after Council infrastructure on the ground. On the industrial world of Vraktos, Minho's team sabotaged the main fusion reactor that powered the planet's shield generators. The explosion was visible from orbit. On Krell 7, another team poisoned the water supply of a Council military base. Not enough to kill, just enough to make thousands of soldiers too sick to fight. On the Sara, hackers working with human agents crashed the entire planetary defense network. For 12 hours, the planet was completely vulnerable. The Council couldn't defend everything. They had spread their civilization across 500 star systems. Humanity had learned every weakness, every soft target, every system that could be exploited. And they struck without mercy. Communications specialist Ji-Wan Song coordinated the attacks from a hidden base on Titan. Her screens showed dozens of ongoing operations simultaneously. She directed human forces, coordinated with alien resistance groups, and hacked Council communications to spread confusion. She rarely slept. There would be time to rest after the war. Team 7 reports success on Margoth. One of her assistants announced. Council supply depot destroyed. Estimated 3 months of food stores lost. Team 12 is engaging Council peacekeepers on Theron Prime. Another assistant reported. Local rebels joining the fight. The city's in chaos. Ji-Wan processed the information and sent new orders. The key was keeping the Council off balance. They had more ships, more soldiers, more resources. But they had to defend everything. Humanity only had to attack the right targets, and the targets kept growing. More species joined Earth's cause. The Pellans provided safe harbors for human ships. The Roners shared intelligence about Council movements. The Therans fought openly now, emboldened by human support. What started as Earth's war became a galaxy-wide revolution, but revolution came with costs. Sergeant Yunji Kang led a boarding party onto a Council supply ship near the Rigel system. The mission went wrong. Council soldiers were waiting. They had learned about the planned attack from a spy. The firefight lasted 40 minutes. Yunji's team eventually won, but she lost 6 soldiers. Good people, friends. She stood in the cargo bay afterward, looking at the body bags. This was the reality of war. Not glorious, not clean, just death and grief, and the question that haunted her every day. Was it worth it? But then she remembered why they were fighting. She remembered the files from the abandoned station, the species marked eliminated, the plans for humanity's exploitation. If Earth didn't fight, they would be destroyed. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually. The Council had done it before. They would do it again. So Yunji kept fighting. They all did. On the 6th day of the Siege of Seoul, the Council's war fleet retreated. They had lost over half their ships. The survivors limped away, damaged and demoralized. Earth had held. The Council's greatest military offensive had failed, but Admiral Yunibei didn't celebrate. She knew this was just the beginning. The Council wouldn't give up. They would regroup. They would send more fleets, bigger ones. And next time, they would be prepared for human tactics. How long until they come back? Her second-in-command asked. Months, maybe. They need time to rebuild. Time to convince their member species to commit more resources. Yuna studied the tactical display. But they will come back. This isn't over. She was right. In the Council's great chamber, the High Chancellor addressed the assembled representatives. His voice was hard with determination. The humans have won a battle, but we will win the war. Deploy the Extinction Fleet. Silence fell over the chamber. The Extinction Fleet was the Council's ultimate weapon. 5,000 warships held in reserve for existential threats. It had been deployed only 3 times in Council history. Each time, it had crushed rebellion so thoroughly that entire species were erased from existence. Some representatives protested. That's too much. We can still negotiate. We can still find a peaceful solution. But others shouted them down. The humans attacked us. They killed thousands of our people. They've turned half the galaxy against us. They must be stopped. The vote was called. The Extinction Fleet would be deployed. Every Council species would contribute ships. Every available resource would be committed. Humanity would be destroyed, no matter the cost. When Senna Lee learned about the Extinction Fleet, she felt ice in her veins. 5,000 ships. Earth couldn't stand against that. No one could. She sent an encrypted message to Earth's government, warning them. Then she prepared to go deeper underground. The Council would be hunting for spies now, desperate to prevent intelligence leaks. But Earth's response surprised everyone. President Dao Xin didn't panic. He didn't call for desperate defenses. Instead, he smiled. Let them come to Earth, he said. We'll be waiting. But not here. He looked at his military commanders. We're not going to defend. We're going to attack. While their Extinction Fleet travels to Sol System, we'll take the fight to them. We're going to strike at the heart of the Council. We're going to attack their homeworld. The plan was insane. It was brilliant. It was humanity's only chance. While the Council's greatest fleet was busy with Earth, humanity would hit them where they never expected. Where they thought they were safe. Commander Jiho Park received his orders and gathered his captains. We're going deep into Council space. This is a one-way trip. We probably won't come back. But we're going to hurt them. We're going to hurt them so badly, they'll never forget. His captains nodded. They understood. They were scared, but they were ready. This was what humanity did. When cornered, when outmatched, when facing impossible odds, they didn't surrender. They attacked. The galaxy was about to learn its final lesson about Earth. Humanity didn't just fight to survive. They fought to win. And they would do whatever it took, pay whatever price, make whatever sacrifice necessary to protect their freedom. The Council had lied. Now they would face humanity's retaliation. And it would shake the galaxy to its core. The extinction fleet departed from Council space with great ceremony. 5,000 warships from 100 different species. The largest military force in galactic history. Admirals gave speeches about honor and duty. Politicians promised this would end the human threat forever. Citizens watched on broadcasts, reassured that order would be restored. No one noticed the small merchant ships leaving Council space in other directions. No one paid attention to the freighters and cargo vessels that seemed to be fleeing the war. They were too focused on the great fleet heading to Earth. That was their mistake. Commander Jiho Park sat in the captain's chair of a modified cargo hauler called the Swift Return. Around him, 200 similar ships traveled in loose formation. They looked like refugees, civilians running from the conflict. Council patrols let them pass without serious inspection. Why would anyone suspect these battered old ships were carrying humanity's most elite soldiers? Jump gate ahead, his navigator announced. Council checkpoint is active. Transmit our registration codes. Nice and easy. The checkpoint guards scanned the Swift Return. The codes were legitimate, stolen from actual merchant vessels. The scanner showed the cargo hold, full of basic supplies. It didn't show the 60 soldiers hidden in shielded compartments. It didn't show the weapons. It didn't show the combat drones. You're clear to proceed, the checkpoint guard transmitted. Safe travels. Jiho smiled. Thank you. Peace be with you. The Swift Return and her sister ships jumped through the gate. 3 more checkpoints. 3 more successful deceptions. Then they were in the heart of Council space. The core systems, where the richest world sat fat and comfortable, convinced they were safe from war. On the Theran homeworld, the rebellion was in full swing. Senna Lee had escaped the Council capital and made her way here, joining the resistance. The Therans were fierce fighters, but they lacked training and equipment. Senna coordinated with Earth to change that. Another supply drop incoming, she told the Theran leaders. Weapons, armor, medical supplies. Enough to arm 10,000 fighters. The Theran commander, a scarred veteran named Kelmer, gripped her hand. Your people give us hope. For 3 generations, we suffered under Council rule. Now, finally, we can fight back. Just survive, Senna said. When this is over, we'll build something better together. A real alliance. One based on partnership, not exploitation. But first, they had to win. And across the galaxy, humanity's scattered forces prepared for the most desperate gambit of the war. Admiral Yuna Bay remained at Earth with the home fleet. Her job was to delay the extinction fleet as long as possible. By time for Jiho's strike force, when the extinction fleet arrived at Sol System, they found Earth's defenses reinforced. More weapons, more shields, more traps. The Council's admirals didn't care. They had overwhelming numbers. They would win through sheer attrition. The second siege of Sol began. It was even bloodier than the first. Council ships died by the dozens, but they kept coming. Yuna's forces fought brilliantly, but they were slowly being pushed back. Earth's orbital stations took damage. The shield generators on Luna started failing. How long can we hold? Yuna's tactical officer asked. As long as we need to, she replied. But privately, she worried. Had Jiho's team made it through? Was the plan working? Or were they all about to die for nothing? 300 light-years away, Jiho had his answer. The swift return and the other disguised ships converged on the Council homeworld. It was a beautiful planet. Gleaming cities, peaceful gardens, billions of citizens who had never known war. The Council's government sat in a massive complex at the planet's capital. They thought they were untouchable. All ships, this is Park. Execute insertion. The cargo ships dropped their disguises. Weapons pods deployed. Stealth shuttles launched from hidden bays. 200 ships became 2,000 smaller craft, all diving toward the planet at maximum speed. By the time Council Defense detected them, it was too late to stop them all. Jiho's shuttle hit the atmosphere burning hot. Defensive fire destroyed dozens of other shuttles, but hundreds more got through. They landed in the capital city in broad daylight. Hatches opened. Human soldiers poured out. The Council had grown comfortable. Their homeworld defenses were designed to stop fleet invasions, not ground assaults. They had a small security force, but nothing prepared to fight Earth's special forces. Jiho's soldiers moved through the city like shadows. They had trained for this mission for months. Every street memorized. Every target identified. Lieutenant Minho An led a team straight to the planetary shield generator. They had 12 minutes before Council reinforcements arrived. His team placed shaped charges on the main power conduits. Set for simultaneous detonation. We blow it all at once. Sergeant Yunji Kong's team secured the government complex. Council. Officials tried to evacuate, but human soldiers cut off the escape routes. No one leaves. You wanted war. Now you've got it. Across the city, more teams struck critical infrastructure. Communication hubs, power stations, transportation centers. The carefully planned assault paralyzed the planet's capital in less than an hour. Then Jiho transmitted his message. It went out on every frequency. Every screen in the city showed his face. Every speaker carried his voice. People of the Council homeworld, we are humanity. We are here because your government lied to us. They exploited us. They planned to destroy us. We have evidence of their crimes. We have proof of their corruption. Your leaders told you we were terrorists. They told you we were dangerous. They were right about one thing. We are dangerous, but only to tyrants. He gestured behind him. Council officials were being led out of the government complex in restraints. The High Chancellor himself, looking small and frightened. The great admirals who had sent fleets to destroy Earth. The politicians who had orchestrated the exploitation of dozens of species. These are your leaders. These are the people who sent 5,000 ships to destroy my homeworld while telling you it was for peace and security. We could kill them. We could destroy this city, but we won't, because we're not the monsters they told you we are. Instead, we offer you a choice. Surrender. Order your extinction fleet to stand down. Face justice for your crimes. Or we turn this planet into a war zone. We've already disabled your shields. We control your capital. More human forces are in orbit, ready to drop on every major city. You can't win, but you can end this without more bloodshed. The message spread across Council space instantly. The extinction fleet at Earth received it. They saw their homeworld held hostage. They saw their leaders captured. The commanders faced an impossible choice. Press the attack on Earth and lose their homeworld, or turn back and abandon their offensive. The Council fleet hesitated. That hesitation was fatal. While they were deciding, Yuna launched every ship Earth had left. The damaged orbital stations fired their last weapons. Human ships that could barely fly threw themselves at the Council fleet in desperate suicide runs. And across the galaxy, coordinated uprisings began. Theran rebels attacked Council garrisons. Helen ships stopped Council supply convoys. Roner hackers crashed council computer systems. The oppressed species saw their chance. The council was vulnerable. The time for revolution had come. In the council's great chamber, now occupied by human soldiers, the High Chancellor finally broke. Order the fleet to withdraw. Agree to their terms. We surrender. The transmission went out. The extinction fleet, humanity's death sentence, turned around and began the long journey home. They had failed. The council had fallen. Jiho stood in the High Chancellor's office, looking at the planet below. So much death, so much destruction. But it was over. Earth had survived. More than survived. They had won. Captain Hyeon Kim joined him. She looked exhausted. They all did. What happens now? Now comes the hard part, Jiho said. Building peace is harder than winning wars. Outside, the sun set on the council homeworld. A new era was beginning. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had proven that tyranny could be defeated, that the strong could be toppled by the determined, that lies eventually meet their reckoning. But the cost had been terrible. Thousands of human soldiers dead, entire cities damaged, species torn apart by civil war. Victory felt hollow standing among so much ruin. Yet there was hope too. In the streets below, Jiho saw council citizens talking with human soldiers. Cautious conversations, tentative questions, the beginning of understanding. The first steps toward something better. The council had lied, Earth had retaliated, and the galaxy had been shaken to its core. Now they had to build something new from the ruins. Something honest, something just, something worth all the blood and sacrifice. That work began tomorrow. Tonight, they mourned the dead and tried to remember why they had fought. For freedom, for dignity, for the right to choose their own destiny. Those things were worth fighting for, even dying for. The stars shone above, indifferent to the struggles below. But humanity had learned something important. They weren't alone anymore. They had allies. They had friends. Species who had suffered under the council's rule and now stood ready to build a better future together. The galaxy was vast. The challenges ahead were enormous. But Earth had proven something vital. When pushed hard enough, when faced with extinction, when fighting for their very survival, humanity would do whatever it took to win. And now, with the war ending, they would show the galaxy something even more impressive. They would show them how to build lasting peace. The trials began 3 months after the council's surrender. Representatives from every species, both council members and their victims, gathered on the neutral world of Haven. Humanity insisted the proceedings be public. Every session broadcast across the galaxy. No more secrets. No more hidden crimes. The High Chancellor stood in the defendant's chamber, looking smaller than Jiho remembered. Without his ceremonial robes and armed guards, he was just an old being facing judgment for his actions. The chief prosecutor, a Theran named Kelmer, read the charges. Systematic exploitation, economic warfare, conspiracy to commit genocide. The list went on for hours. Evidence was presented. The files from the abandoned station, records of strip-mined worlds, communication logs showing council leaders planning the elimination of troublesome species, testimony from hundreds of victims. Some council officials claimed they were following orders. Others said they didn't know the full truth. Few accepted responsibility. Jiho watched from the observation gallery. Part of him wanted revenge. These beings had killed his brother. They had planned to destroy Earth. But he also knew that vengeance wouldn't heal the galaxy's wounds. Justice was necessary, but it had to be fair. Had to be honest. Otherwise, humanity would become what they had fought against. The trials lasted 6 months. Some council officials were sentenced to life imprisonment. Others received lesser punishments based on their level of involvement. A few, the worst offenders, faced execution. The galaxy voted on their fate. Every species got a voice. The decisions were final, but punishment was only part of the process. The real work was returning what had been stolen. Teams of economists and resource specialists calculated the value extracted from every exploited species over centuries. The Council's wealthiest worlds didn't want to pay. They claimed they were innocent. They hadn't personally committed the crimes. Captain Hyun Kim led the recovery operations. She had no patience for excuses. Your wealth came from theft. Your comfort came from others' suffering. You benefited from the system, even if you didn't create it. Now you pay the bill. The resource redistribution took years. Ships carried raw materials back to stripped worlds. Technology was shared freely. Economic assistance flowed to species that had been deliberately impoverished. It wasn't enough to undo centuries of damage, but it was a start. Meanwhile, Sena Lee worked on creating something new. The Free Systems Alliance. Not like the Council, with a powerful few controlling everyone else. This would be different. Every member species got equal representation. Decisions required consensus. Exploitation was forbidden by the founding charter. Species could leave freely if they chose. Will it work? Kelmer asked her. They were reviewing the draft constitution in a small office on Haven. Outside, representatives from 100 worlds argued about the details. I don't know, Sena admitted. Democracy is messy, slow, frustrating, but it's better than tyranny. At least people have a voice. The Constitution was ratified after 18 months of debate. The Free Systems Alliance officially formed with 47 founding members. More joined each month. Species that had hidden from galactic politics emerged cautiously. Others who had suffered under Council rule signed up immediately. Not everyone joined. Some Council species refused to give up their privileges. They formed their own confederation, smaller and weaker than before, but clinging to the old ways. Humanity didn't force them. Freedom meant accepting choices you disagreed with. Commander Jiho Park retired from military service after the alliance formed. He was only 43, but he felt ancient. The war had taken too much from him. Too many friends dead. Too many impossible choices made. He returned to Earth and visited his brother's grave. We won, he said to the stone marker. We survived. But it wasn't glorious like they said it would be. War never is. He stayed at the grave for hours, remembering. Then he left to start his new life. The Alliance needed people who understood the cost of war to help maintain peace. Jiho joined the diplomatic corps. Maybe he could help prevent the next conflict. Captain Hyun Kim also retired. She moved to a colony world and taught starship operations at a civilian academy. She never wanted to fire weapons in anger again, but she made sure her students understood tactics and strategy. Just in case. Peace was precious, but it had to be defended. Weapons engineer Taeyong Nam faced harder choices. His creations had won the war. His plasma cannons, his stealth ships, his combat AI, but some of his work frightened him. Biological weapons that could target specific species. Nanobots that could dismantle enemy ships from within. Cyber weapons that could take control of entire planetary networks. What do we do with this knowledge? He asked President Shin. We can't uninvent it. But if it spreads, the next war could destroy the galaxy. The Alliance created the Department of Restricted Technologies. Humanity's most dangerous weapons were documented and then locked away. The research was preserved but heavily restricted. Future generations might need it, or they might choose to destroy it completely. Either way, the decision wouldn't be made lightly. Lieutenant Minho An took a different path. He joined the Alliance Security Force, hunting war criminals who had escaped justice. Some Council officials had fled to the frontier. Others hid among sympathetic species. Minho tracked them down one by one. It was quiet work, unglamorous, but necessary. Sergeant Yoonji Kang struggled the most after the war. She had lost too many friends, seen too much death. The nightmares wouldn't stop. She spent 2 years in therapy, learning to cope with what she had experienced. Eventually, she found purpose helping other veterans. Not everyone could adjust to peace. Some needed help remembering how to live without constant danger. Ji-won, Song became the Alliance's chief intelligence coordinator. She had spent the war connecting people, coordinating operations, managing information. Now she did the same thing for peace. Early warning systems to detect threats. Intelligence sharing between species. Preventing conflicts before they started. But not everything could be fixed. Some species had been erased by the Council. Their worlds empty. Their cultures lost. The Alliance created memorial sites on these dead planets. Places to remember what had been destroyed. Places to remind future generations what tyranny cost. Admiral Yunibei became the Alliance's first defense minister. She oversaw the creation of a unified military force. Not to conquer. Not to exploit. But to protect. The galaxy was vast. Threats existed beyond the known systems. Something had to stand against the darkness. On Earth, a massive monument was built. The Memorial to the Fallen. It listed every human who died in the war. Thousands of names carved in black stone. But it didn't just honor humans. It also listed the Council soldiers who died. The civilians caught in the crossfire. Everyone who paid the price for the Council's lies and humanity's retaliation. The inscription read, "They believed we were weak because we sought peace. They learned that humanity's greatest strength is knowing when peace is no longer an option. We honor all who died, friend and foe, and vow to build a galaxy where such sacrifices never needed again." 10 years after the war ended, Ji-ho returned to Haven for the anniversary celebration. The Free Systems Alliance had grown to over 100 members. Trade flourished. Borders opened. Species that had been enemies learned to coexist. It wasn't perfect. Disputes still happened. But they were resolved through negotiation, not warfare. Senna. Lee found him at the memorial service. They hadn't seen each other in years. She looked good, content. "How are you?" she asked. "Better. The nightmares are less frequent now. You?" "Same. Teaching at the Diplomatic Academy keeps me busy. Trying to train the next generation to be better than we were." They stood in comfortable silence, watching the ceremony. Young beings from dozens of species stood together, promising to uphold the Alliance's principles: unity, justice, freedom, high ideals. Easy to say, hard to maintain. "Do you think it will last?" Senna asked. "The peace?" Ji-ho considered the question carefully. "Maybe, if people remember. If they teach their children what happened and why. If they stay vigilant. Peace isn't natural. It has to be chosen every day." Across the galaxy, life continued. Species rebuilt what had been destroyed. New alliances formed. Old wounds slowly healed. The scars remained, but they didn't define the future. On a frontier world, a young human child asked her teacher about the war. The teacher, a Theran named after Kelmer, told the story honestly. The Council's exploitation, Earth's discovery of the lies, the brutal retaliation that followed, the cost of victory. Were the humans heroes? The child asked. "That's complicated," the teacher said. "They fought for justice. They freed the oppressed. They built something better from the ruins. But they also killed. They destroyed. They made enemies and created suffering. War is never clean. Heroes are never perfect. Then what should we learn from them? That standing up to tyranny requires courage. that peace is worth fighting for, that the strong have a responsibility to protect the weak. And that power must always be checked, because even the best intentions can lead to terrible actions if left unchallenged. The child thought about this. So we have to stay watchful. Make sure the Alliance doesn't become like the Council. Exactly. That's your generation's responsibility. Learn from our mistakes. Do better than we did. Far beyond the Alliance's borders, something ancient stirred. Sensors detected strange signals from unexplored space. Energy readings that defied explanation. Ships that didn't match any known design. The galaxy was vast. Humanity and their allies had only seen a tiny fraction of it. New threats would come eventually. New challenges. New decisions about when to talk and when to fight. But for now, there was peace. Hard-won, precious, worth all the sacrifice. Commander Jiho Park, now an old man, stood at his brother's grave one final time before his own death. "We did it," he whispered. "We survived. We won. We built something worth protecting." I hope it was enough. The stars shone above, indifferent as always. But among those stars, billions of beings lived in freedom because humanity had refused to accept exploitation. They had stood up to the Council. They had paid the terrible price of war. And they had shown the galaxy that lies and tyranny could be defeated. The Council had lied. Earth had retaliated. And the galaxy would never forget. Not the violence, not the cost, but also not the lesson. That even the weak can topple the strong when they fight for something that matters. That justice demands courage. That peace requires eternal vigilance. The story entered legend, told on 1,000 worlds in 1,000 languages. The details changed with each telling, but the core truth remained. Humanity had been tested. They had been exploited. They had been marked for elimination. And they had refused to accept their fate. Instead, they fought back. They won, and they built something better. That was the legacy. Not perfect, not bloodless, but real, honest, a foundation on which future generations could build. A reminder that the galaxy belonged to all species equally, that no one had the right to exploit or dominate others, that freedom was worth any price. And if the peace ever failed, if tyranny rose again, future generations would remember Earth's example. They would remember that ordinary beings could accomplish extraordinary things when pushed far enough, that the impossible could be made possible through determination and sacrifice. The Council had learned that lesson too late. The galaxy would not forget it. And somewhere among the stars, humanity watched, ready to defend the peace they had fought so hard to create, ready to stand against any threat, ready to prove again, if necessary, that Earth's retaliation could shake the galaxy to its very foundations, but hoping, always hoping, that such a demonstration would never be needed again.